Welcome to the Weekend Wind Down, the show in which I drink and talk about things that I found interesting over the week and hope that you guys find them interesting as well. Show. It's a work in progress. First up, we had some Dune news this week. It turns out that the movie is just the first part of a duology, or perhaps a trilogy, we're not sure. But viewers were hinted at a second movie after finishing the first one. It's always great when they take a single book and turn it into multiple movies. It's turned out really well so far for many books. Sticking with movie news, after the critical acclaim of Matrix 2 and 3, they have naturally made a Matrix 4, Matrix Resurrection. In this fourth installment, we have Carrie-Anne Moss returning as Trinity and John Wick playing the part of Neo. And it seems that all the familiar hits are in this movie. We have the wobbly mirror, the glitch in the Matrix cat, and of course, I Know Kung Fu. The movie also stars Neil Patrick Harris of How I Met Your Mother fame and the star of Doogie Howser from back in the day. And who doesn't like Neil Patrick Harris? The trailer actually looks good, and I'm looking forward to that one. Next, speaking of Neil Patrick Harris, Disney Plus is releasing a new version of Doogie Howser MD called Doogie Kame Aloha MD. It's the same premise as before, except this time we get a female doctor, and she's in Hawaii. So, there's that coming out. Moving on. Wheel of Time news, as we know, November 19th, they're going to be dropping the first 3 episodes of Wheel of Time and then introducing one more per week thereafter until the season is finished. And this week, Madeleine Madden, the actress playing Egwene, confirmed that she was actually pushed off the cliff in that scene that we saw in the trailer. And that shows me that there's some good dedication on the part of the actors and actresses in the show, which bodes well for production value. And in book news this week, we have a couple to talk about here. First, we have Joe Abercrombie's 3rd installment of the Age of Madness series called The Wisdom of Crowds. Yes, Mr. Lord Grimdark himself seems to be in a role here, as the first 2 books in the series were loved by readers, and this 3rd installment, knowing him, should be no different. And audiobook listeners will be happy to find that Stephen Pacey is narrating this one as well. The man is a genius. Another book that just released and I think will be great for your uber Lord of the Rings fans is The Nature of Middle-earth. This is supposed to be the final writings of Middle-earth by J.R.R. Tolkien. Though we've heard that before, this is not going to be a long format story like Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. It's mostly snippets of history and lore that will fill in the gaps and kind of flesh out Middle-earth even more. Speaking of Tolkien Uber fans, do you remember when Lord of the Rings extended editions came out and they were 4 hours each, and people were saying no one's going to watch 4 hours of Lord of the Rings, no one's going to buy that? Well, that turned out to be totally untrue because it's awesome. But now we have gone way past that, and we're looking at a 31 disc ultimate collection of Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movie and interviews and extra scenes and everything that goes along with it. When 30 discs is not enough for your superfan, this 31 disc collection will surely hit the right spot. Really, 31 discs? Who's buying discs anymore? Now it's time for the quick shots. It seems that a Murderbot superfan has created their own costume of Murderbot, and Martha Wells really loved it and retweeted it. Check it out here. I think it's a pretty good job. There's now an official Alien cookbook. You can make all your favorite recipes from the movie, which involves a lot of teeth, eggs, and tentacles, and thrill grandma at dinner at the same time. No, I don't want 5% cash back, Discover. Go away. In role-playing news, a video game about Vampire the Masquerade was just announced, in which you can play various vampires with different powers, presumably the different clans, Ventrue, Nosferatu, and Toreador and all, and you can do kind of a battle royale style fight with your friends. The graphics look pretty decent, and it's gruesome and bloody as it should be because vampires are such creatures, and I'm glad that's on full display. We'll see if it brings back any interest in the actual tabletop RPG Vampire, which was hugely popular in the late 90s, bigger than D&D even, and I had a great time playing it. Toreador, all the way. In other role-playing news, it seems that D&D will now let you play fairies and rabbits. That's right, rabbits. Yes, so if you've ever wanted to play as Usagi Yojimbo, you can bring that character to life and play with your friends. And finally, sticking with Dungeons & Dragons, it seems that they have teamed up with Nerds Candy to bring you official Nerds D&D candies just in time for Halloween. So if you've ever wanted to introduce your kids to Dungeons & Dragons, perhaps getting them on a nerd sugar high might be a good gateway for that. All right, so that is the definitive list of everything interesting that happened last week. There is nothing further. You don't need to look. Join me next week for another episode of things that I find interesting that I want to talk to you guys about while I drink, and hope that you guys find it interesting also. Join me next week on the weekend wind down. I think that's better. Cheers.